So here with Rob Bonta, state assemblyman, longtime friend, first Filipino American elected to the California State Assembly. Are you the only Filipino American on the assembly now? So
there's also Todd Gloria from San Diego. So two
nice.
Came later. Yeah.
Nice. Well, we definitely, California is a diverse state, but we definitely need a little more diversity there.
No doubt.
That's awesome. Just wanted to speak with you about, who you are and soccer experience and just kind of life experiences through soccer. But why don't you introduce yourself? Because I know I didn't do a great job of it.
It's all good. What's up, Shawnee? Rob Bonta in the California State Assembly, representing Oakland, Alameda, and San Leandro. 18th Assembly District is what it's known as. And I'm in my 8th year in the Assembly, first elected in 2012. So time has flown. I live in the city of Alameda with my wife, Mia, who's on the Alameda School Board. She's the CEO of an organization called Oakland Promise, which helps get Oakland kids. Its vision is to get all Oakland children to college and beyond, or to a post-high school certificated program. And got 3 kids. One, Raina, who's 21 years old. She's a rising senior in college. She plays soccer. She actually plays soccer on the same field I played on at Yale. And
Good soccer player.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm proud of her. She's having a great time of it. And I have a middle daughter, Ileana, 14, freshman at Encinal High in Alameda, and then a son, Andres, who's 11. I was the vice mayor of that city, Alameda, before becoming elected to the legislature, and then on healthcare district board before that. And as you said, first Filipino American. I was born in the Philippines, came here when I was 2 months old. My mom's an immigrant from the Philippines, came here when she was 28 as an adult. Both my parents grew up in or were active in movements. My dad was involved in the civil rights movement, was in Selma, Alabama with Martin Luther King Jr. Both parents worked for the United Farm Workers of America. And my mom was part of the anti-Marcos dictatorship movement that led to democracy being restored in the Philippines in 1986. So a lot of social justice work in our family, a lot of public service, which I think is very much responsible for why I chose the path in life that I did. I went to college grew up in Sacramento, actually. Went to public schools there all the way through high school, a school called Bella Vista High School. I played with Mike McGinty, who many of us all know and played with growing up. We were the 2 Sacramento guys that played together. Guillermo Jara came after us, trying to be better than us, but and did and was by a lot.
In Guillermo's mind, for sure.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, he is. I love Guillermo. I'm joking, but
that left foot. And then I went away to college at Yale with your brother, as you know. He spent a year in Brazil first before coming, so we were a year apart. Kim Tai, and then I went to Oxford to study politics and economics for a year. I was there with folks that are doing really well right now, like Cory Booker and Eric Garcetti and Gina Raimondo and others. And then I went back to Yale Law School and met my wife, Mia, when we were 17 years old. And she saw potential in this crazy project, this mullet-haired, sandal-wearing guy from California.
I was looking for one of those photos. I wanted one of those.
They're awesome. So we've been together since then, man, since over 30 years now. So awesome. Real happy in public service. Soccer's still a part of my life. More soccer dad and soccer fan than soccer player, but I still get the old legs out on the weekends in the East Bay Senior Soccer League.
Oh, nice.
With my Alameda Islanders team. I was on Afrikari before that for a while. African Caribbean team, and a lot of great guys, great players, fun times. So that's me, man. And just the Seals family and the players over the years, from youth to adult and beyond, have just been a really important part of my life. Some of my best friends, including you and Kim Tai and Ken Folan and Josh McKay and Mike McGinty, and the list goes on and on and on. Some of the best memories of my life, the greatest adventures, the funnest moments and times, and I've been with my friends and family, soccer players by my side, and doing the things that we all experience because we love it so much, including starting in that first trip to Europe when we were 15 and 16. You went the year before, but those 4 Scandinavian countries, the Helsinki Cup and the Gothia Cup and Norway Cup and Dana Cup, and then Brazil a couple years later, where we probably should not have had 17-year-old boys right before they went to college, making horrible decisions, but we had fun.
Especially when you could show the Brazilians a $20 bill and they'll give you 20 beers and you're 17. You're like, what?
Yeah. You're like, this is my favorite city.
Yeah, I remember, not necessarily the exact moment, I definitely remember the first time meeting you, doing ODP with my brother, because I grew early, and so
yeah,
I kind of fudged my ODP information for that first year U15. I think I was 13, you guys were 15, and I remember a conversation. It took me a while to, I guess, mature and grow up. I'm sure, just like most boys. But I just remember talking with you, and I swear to God, you had to have been 15, maybe a little older, maybe younger. And you said, when I grow up, I want to be a politician. I remember thinking, like, what? This guy's weird. Well, 15-year-old says,
yeah,
I want to be but I mean, my view, of course, was of a 15-year-old. I didn't have I knew kids in San Francisco, so it wasn't like I was this mature worldly guy. I mean, I can understand it now as an adult and as a coach, but that was, as I got older, I realized how impressive that statement was. Mm-hmm. And then as I got to know who you are and who your parents were, it became more impactful. But I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll also just share that, I remember those early days in ODP when I met you and your family, and, Kim Tai, and you were, a phenom for your age and your size and your skills. And I think you were like they barely had an under 14 and a half team, or maybe they didn't. That's why you were playing with the, older team. Yeah. And, I was just struggling to fit in and make a team and have some fun. But then it turned into a friendship with you and Tom and Kim Tai and the family. And, I spent many nights at your house and trained at, different parks and fields all over San Francisco. And, I remember taking the Greyhound bus by myself regularly on weekends from Sacramento to the Bay Area to play with you guys and get competition and get better and grow, and, not just grow on the field, but grow as a person. San Francisco was a lot different than my suburb of Sacramento, where I grew up, in terms of diversity and being more urban. And that was one of the gifts that soccer gave, not just exposed me to, other places in California, but other countries, other people, other cultures. I mean, we'll never forget the Pequeninos that we met in Brazil and what they meant to us as, these young people that we became great friends, although many years apart. And, the things that we saw and how we grew, and, the more worldly, international, cosmopolitan perspectives that we gained. And that's one of the great things for me, just that it's soccer is a universal language. It connects you to a lot of people, brings you to a lot of places. And, I never really traveled growing up. We didn't have the means, and it wasn't part of who we were. But soccer allowed for a lot of that to happen that never would have. But, looking back at, 15-year-old Rob and what I was like, you guys all remember I was smart Alec, and, talked too much, talked too fast, said too many things I couldn't back up. Sort of a teen boy mentality on steroids. But I do remember that feeling back then. I don't know what it was. It was really raw and unpolished and unfocused, but it was more around a desire to one, be in an area of influence, to position of influence where I could help people and get things done and make change. And more in retrospect, I don't think I appreciated it at the time, but we're also influenced by our parents in ways we know and don't. And my parents, just being who they are, the stories they told, the values they lived, always, were about public service and helping others. So, and I remember them telling me stories about how they were part of these people-fueled, people-powered movements where it was just everyday people standing side by side with one another trying to make change, like working with the farm workers, working with, you know, other Filipino neighbors to bring democracy back to the Philippines. You know, they'd go to protests and demonstrations. They'd raise money, you know, in the single-digit dollars and send it back to help the cause. And from time to time, they would ask elected officials to help them. And sometimes those officials would, and sometimes they won't. And I didn't want to have to ask anybody to help the people that I cared about. I wanted to be able to just do it. And being the elected official instead of asking the elected official was one way I thought that could happen. But I didn't know what it meant really. I didn't really know what I was saying. It was a vision and ideal. You know, I didn't know what it meant to be an elected official, how you got there, what it was like in office. But I did know that they were folks who had the ability to make other people's lives better. I think that's what I was getting at.
I don't know. It's again, from where I am now as a person, I can understand, and I really appreciate that response. And to a degree, I think it helped me be a little more mature than, you know, my knucklehead are like, oh, you know, I just want to go to college. Oh, maybe I'll be a salesman. But yeah, I mean, it was a profound moment. I still remember it. I remember being at your house and you were saying when you grow up, you want to be a politician. Like, it was impactful because literally, you're the only kid I think I've ever had a conversation with when I was a kid, and they said they want to be a politician. But you know, I chalked it off as like, that was a little weird with the politician. But
I knew I wasn't good enough to be a professional soccer player, so I needed a plan.
You're pretty good. You know, especially over the years, and I'm sure a lot of that had to do with, you know, that grit that you have about, you know, working hard and, you know, trying to achieve your goal of, you know, helping individuals. Because you, over the, you know, the 4 years of, you know, I guess freshman year to senior year, you ended up making the U20 national team, which is no small feat. You know, we both went through the ODP program, very competitive, alpha male personalities, a lot of athletic, talented players out there. Of course, there's a little bit of luck involved for everybody. It doesn't matter what area of life, but the fact that, you know, you climbed, you know, that ladder showed a lot about, you know, your ability to, you know, organize your time because you were out doing extra training, you were out doing extra fitness. You know, your understanding of the game improved, and your age group was a talented age group. I remember a lot of those players were strong players, and you know that was you know, in California, you know, that we were like the main feeder for the national team, and so the level of competition to get selected was you know, it was hard. And you know, it's, like I said, I think it says a lot about, you know, who you are. You know, Yale, U.S. national team, Yale Law School, you know, Rhodes Scholar. That's that's big. Yeah. And how did how did your, I guess, your parents and soccer maybe play a role in any like life lessons that you may have learned or helped you like push through, you know, tough times, or even maybe stay confident? Because one of the things I preach to kids is you have to learn how to be confident. You got to learn how to stay confident. And you know, that's one of my core principles for coaching in soccer. But you know, how did your soccer experience help with your success in school, out of school? You know, maybe with your family.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, I'll tell a story about the under-20 team that is directly related to that question. Also, just a quick clarification point. I did go to Oxford, but I wasn't on the roads. It was another scholarship called the Henry Fellowship. But a lot of those people I mentioned who were there with me, Eric Garcetti, Corey Booker, they were all on the roads, and we all kind of, as American students studying in England, all kind of connected with one another. But you know, that year on the under-20s was, you know, it was me punching way above my weight. Like I don't think it was expected of me. I had never made the regional team before that year. You know, I would always make it to the second week for the Western region, and they get cut in the last day, and that was a point of, you sadness for sure, and pain, but also, one of the things I think athletes do, and I try to teach and I try to do, is turn that pain into passion and inspiration and hard work, and have it drive you, so that you don't feel it again and you can overcome that hurdle the next time. And so in my final year, after 3 years, I think it was 17 and a half, so I finally made the team for the regional team. And then I played a year of varsity soccer in college as a freshman. I came on as a starter and played almost every minute of every game. We went to the NCAA playoffs, and that Thanksgiving we had in Dallas when all the regions played each other in front of the national team coaches. And on the last day, they pick 2 all-star teams to play against each other in a showcase, and then the pool for the next camp gets picked from that. And I made it to the all-star game, and I had a good game. I was playing against some of the good forwards, and it was just like me, like it all just came together. When you just have a game when everything seems, the ball bounces right and your touch seems better than you deserve, and you've never played like that before, like that all happened. And I was like, oh man, I might have a chance at this, to at least go to camp. And then I started hearing that other people were getting letters, and I didn't get a letter yet. And then finally I got a letter, and it's like, we're going to Mexico over to Guadalajara over the holidays, and we're going to train, and where the Brazilian national team trained for the World Cup in Mexico '86. And then I get there, and Claudio Reyna's there, and the Baba brothers are there, and Mad and Nadal, and Brian McBride was there, and Jorge Salcedo and Tatiani. And I was like, damn. And, and that's tough, because that's an intimidating, incredible group. And it was inspired by, failure first is what led to it. And then luck, for sure. Like we all have those lucky streaks. That was one for me that gave me an opportunity I would have had before. And you try to make the best of it. And the team ended up going to World Cup qualifying, and I went to a couple of the camps and a couple of the showcases, had some international matches, got a chance to wear the uniform and listen to the national anthem and represent the team in international play against Mexico and some club teams. And then they didn't ask me to come anymore. And that was painful, because when you're in the pool, you want to stay in the pool.
Yeah.
You fall out, it's hard to get back in. And, the under 20 pool can lead to the senior pool, can lead to other things. And so that was a blow, and that was tough for me, kind of recovering from that and fighting back in soccer. Like that's one of the things you get, things are going great and then they're not. Things are going great, then you get hurt. There's resilience and persistence and grit is a big part of it. And I think my game was more built on those kind of inputs, hard work and, tough tackles. And, that we talk about, sometimes we joke around and we say there's like the blue collar players and the white collar players, the skilled players and the players that win the ball and give it to the skilled players. And I was definitely the guy who won the ball and gave it to the skilled player, and I knew my role, and I knew where I fit in and where I didn't fit in, what I could do, what I couldn't. And that's part of being successful too, is not playing outside of what you can do, and letting others on your team. So, I mean, soccer has been full of life lessons for me. The one I just mentioned is just one of them. How you overcome adversity, how you deal with defeat. Like how you deal with defeat is what shows your character. Anyone can win. Some people are horrible winners in terms of, like gloating and not being graceful. But when you're winning, everything's good. It's hard when you lose, and how you treat your teammates, how you pick your teammates up, how you self-reflect and decide, what your own accountability and responsibility is, what more you should be doing, how you can grow, what you need to work on. It's hard to have those honest reflections with yourself about what you're not good enough at for the things that you want for yourself. And then setting a plan and a path to get there through, hard work and discipline. And, to me, performance is talent plus, or talent times hard work. Super talented players don't work hard and they can do well because they're talented, and super hardworking players with not a lot of talent can do well. But the best is when you have both. And the talent is that we have, the talent we're given. It's hard to, there's a lot of inherent talent. You can with repetitions and practice, you can get better at some things, but that's where the hard work comes in. Knowing how to work with a team, like everything I do is with others. That's the only way I know how to do it. Supporting each other, building the team, trying to maximize the talents of that team and minimize the drawbacks so that the team is more than the sum of its parts. You're really putting your best foot forward and disguising your weaknesses. Communicating with others, picking people up. Understanding that people are human, right? We're not just machines. We have emotions. Soccer is a very emotional game. We have good days and bad days. Sometimes, your teammates need to pick me up, and sometimes, everyone's different. Some need tough love. Some need a lot more support. Some need you to yell at them, and some need you to put your arm around them. And just understanding how people are different has been a big part of it as well. The goal setting, for me, like the confidence, like I think you earn your confidence. Like when I'm confident, it's because I know I'm ready, because I've prepared, because I'm in shape. I'm ready for whatever the task is at hand. And when you play soccer, when you play a game, when you strap on the boots and you play in front of bright lights and the crowd is in the seat, like you're putting yourself out there, man. Like everyone's going to see all of your successes and all of your failures. And, you're putting a lot on the line and you're risking a lot. So, that idea of being in front of crowds, of, speaking in front of crowds, performing in front of crowds, like that's carried over to my life in public service, because I'm talking to big groups a lot. I'm putting myself out there in a different way. It's not with my, not as a soccer player, but as a, it's more my ideas and my thoughts and my values, but it's something that I'm used to, like, knowing when it's game time, when you got to step it up, when you need to perform. There's a lot of what we learn too. So everything from, being a good teammate and good teamwork, to overcoming adversity, to goal setting and a plan to achieve those things. Like there's so many analogies and carryovers from soccer to life.
And how about your kids? Rain is a successful player, and I've seen some of the posts that you made where that she scored some goals. And
yeah,
is she similar in mindset, or has she listened to your words of wisdom? Or I know kids I was similar. Like I would hear it and like apply it like 3-4 years later, but I don't know. How's Rain? Is she believing in these life lessons that you're providing for her?
I think so. Every kid's different, right? I have 3, and Raina's, looking like right now the one who will have pursued a serious commitment to soccer, where you sacrifice and you're going to training, 4 to 5 times a week with games on weekends. She played for the De Anza Force team that won the national championship, lost another one, and one came in third twice. They had a player that went to Stanford and is now on the women's national team, Tierna Davidson. And so she got to play at a very high level, and she sacrificed a lot, and she wanted that. She loved it. She wanted to be in hotel rooms and on planes and in other countries and other cities. She wanted to have a league schedule that was like the Pac-12, where you're going to Utah one weekend and Washington the next and Oregon the next. And, she loved it. She called it her craft. It was her thing that was special for her. And it was special for us because we started playing together when she was 3. I don't know a lot about a lot of different things. So I just tried to share what I did know and share my passion and my love. And to me, it was really important that we're all dads that, see with our kids the next national team player. And it's hard to resist that feeling because it's our dreams that we have for our kids, but our kids are going to have their own dreams. And so I think what we can do is share our love, our passion, and maybe it sticks, maybe it doesn't. And if it doesn't, that's okay. For my other kids, I've also shared my love of soccer, and it was part of their life for a period of time. And as you get to certain levels where there's massive sacrifice, they start making other decisions too. But Raina didn't, and she loved it. And we had a lot of great father-daughter time around it. We would just go to the park and play. We'd make it a play date where we'd go get frozen yogurt or food afterwards. I took her to England when she was 10 years old, and we went to Oxford, and I showed her where I went to school, but we also saw, the Arsenal Gunners play, her favorite team.
Nice.
We saw, a West Ham game as well against Blackburn, and she saw what it was like to play pro, and she wanted to be a lady gunner, and that was her dream. And so, you try to provide support and make it fun. And, there was a time when, I was waking her up in the morning and saying, hey, I'll get the car running. I made breakfast for you. Let's get in the car and I'll take you to your game. And then I remember like one time it was like 5:30 in the morning and she's waking me up. She's like, Dad, we got to go. And her bag's packed and she's ready to play. She's got her uniform on, her shin guards on. And that's when she owned it. And I was like, this, she's going to do whatever she wants to do with this, because it's not me driving it, it's her wanting it.
Yeah.
And,
I like it.
So, but she's a different player than me. Like, couldn't be more different. She's that skilled player. She's got incredible touch and I call it just a beautiful touch, a beautiful game, wonderful passing, sees the game, thinks at a high level. Solid athlete, but athleticism is not the strength of her game. She's fast enough and tall enough and strong enough, but there's others that are plenty taller, stronger, and faster. It's more kind of how she thinks and how she plays. So I'm real proud of her. She's had a great career. So, and she had a sophomore year full of injuries. She started and played a lot, in her freshman year. She played almost every minute last year, and got all Ivy and all New England honors, and she's coming back for her senior year. So it's kind of what you hope. It gives you a lot of happiness, a lot of great experiences, a lot of growth. She's overcome adversity. She's on her third coach now after a lot of scandal
right.
At Yale women's soccer. So that's been hard, and overcoming that. But soccer is full of life lessons, and then you try to pass them on to your kids, and then they're different than being the coach, being the mentor, being the father. They're a different perspective than being the player. You want to support, and you want to push, and you want to encourage, and you want to instill confidence, but you don't want to push too hard. Like whenever other dads ask me, how did you do it with Raina, in terms of just how I manage my relationship with her with a competitive soccer player who went to play D1 college, I say I don't know all the answers. Every kid's different, and then I say, for me, I just wanted to make soccer fun, and that's super important in the early years. Like, she would go to Coach Dave Fromer's camp when she was 3. And they'd go there and he'd play the guitar and he'd sing the Marshmallow song, and they'd run around with the parachute. And at the end, they'd juggle the ball up the hill a couple times. And then she'd say, Dad, I want to come back next weekend. And that's all I wanted to hear, is that she wanted to come back and, keep doing it. And I think a lot of parents push too hard too early. And then the kids are like worried about disappointing their parents, or it just doesn't become fun because it becomes a point of pressure and stress. So I think people play best when they're loose, when they're confident, when they're happy, when they feel supported, when they're doing it because they want to.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, I'm in the field, and so it's tough. Is it the chicken that came first or the egg? Because are the clubs and the coaches pushing the kids too hard, or are the parents? Young and I, Seals, we try to send the message to the parents that first and foremost, this has to be fun, because pressure and competition, it's very hard for the young mind to handle that, even the young body to handle it. And so pressure and competition at a young age can be the worst thing. It could push you from the game. It could cause injuries down the line.
Totally.
But, parents want to hear that, I'm going to make your child a pro. I'm going to make your child a D1 athlete.
Yeah.
And so clubs and coaches, they sell that, but it's kind of, I'm sure there's plenty of people telling them the opposite, like us, like you and like me, and a lot of parents don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
So usually it's the more competitive parent, the parent, like you're saying, you were the parent who was laid back and you let, Raina drive the ship. I'm the same way. I try to let my kids drive, because my dad is saying, like, hey, you guys want to play soccer? Sure. And then, Kim Ty and I, we'd go to these ODP practices. Sometimes we do the same. We'd catch Greyhound to Sacramento or San Jose because we were driving the ship. My dad, I got to work. I can't take you, but if you want to go, I'll give you money for Greyhound.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to make sure that kids have fun first and foremost. We push them, appropriately, but I think there's a lot of, I don't know if it's the parents again or the clubs, but there's a lot of too much competition and too much stress at a young age. I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, I having been on a bunch of sidelines, as I know you have, and, having played on those fields where other parents were on the sidelines growing up, I think that parents can be part of the worst part of the game. And, and with, and I say that with much love and respect to parents and as a parent, because parents project I did this early on, and then I changed with a lot of work and also a lot of firmness from my wife Mia. But when you first start watching as a parent, you're thinking about it as a player. Like you're in the game, you're feeling competitive, you're feeling the competitive juices flowing, and that's not the role anymore. And it's hard to make that shift if you've just been a player your whole life. And I would try to talk to her from the sidelines, which is strictly prohibited with all of the rules. I'd complain about a referee decision, and then my wife's like, "You need to take a walk." And so she'd send me for a walk, and she's like, "Are you good now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." And then I wouldn't talk for a while until it started up again. But then, that was in the early days, and part of it also is like, you don't want your kid like peaking too soon. Like it's important to peak at the right moment, and kind of like you don't need to peak at 7 or 8 or even like
or even 13.
Exactly. Like and some of them are never going to get to playing at age 17 or 16 if it's pushed too hard. So it's really interesting. But I've seen a lot of parents like so emotional, and it's emotional. Like your kid's success and failure, their pain and their joy, like you feel it with them. And you're right there, and you can't and make it worse, you can't do anything. Like they're on their own, and so all you can do is support them and let them know that no matter what they do, you're always going to love them, and you'll help them any way they want, and whatever choice they make, you'll support it. So but that's hard to do, and it took me some time to learn that. I don't even know if it's right. It's just what I've where I've come down on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's one of the best lessons I learned as a coach for kids, and coach / mentor for parents, is you have to understand the parents, they don't have a book. They don't know what they're doing. They're worried about their child's future. And so when you get a crazy email or phone call, or somebody gets upset with you, try to listen from the perspective, or the lens of knowing this person is worried about their child. So don't get defensive, because like you're saying, I mean, I know you, and you're a great guy, good person, and you may say something, I may say something, but sometimes it's from the guise of emotion, and we say something that we don't necessarily mean. And so
Right.
It's tough being a parent, especially in a competitive environment.
Definitely.
What's on the agenda for you, Governor, President?
I'm good for now, man. Really, really happy and proud to be in this role as a California state legislator. It's, California to me is just crushing it. Really proud. Always have been proud to be a Californian since, I was raised here, and I think we do it differently. I think we do it better. I'm biased, but I do. I'm proud of who we are, our diversity, how we embrace, everybody, and have a California for all. Want to include everybody. So I have term limits. I have a couple more terms I can be in 4 more years, and then I'll see what's next. I love being an elected official. I love making decisions that can help people. So I don't think I'm going to stop, but in terms of trying, but it's the voters who are going to decide whether or not they want to have me in another office. So I'm probably going to try, and don't know exactly what that's going to be, but I love public service and elected office. It's not perfect, but it's a huge privilege. The hardest part is the work-life balance, but everyone faces that. Just not being home enough. Like this is a crazy time for so many people. So many people are in pain and hurting. They've lost their jobs. I mean, some have lost their lives, of course, or have loved ones who've lost their lives or have their health threatened. Some are on the front lines being exposed to COVID-19. I'm lucky to have a job still, and my wife does too. And we have 2 kids that have access to the internet and computers and can do online learning for their public schools. So we count our blessings. And it's really hard, but being forced to stay home, like I've seen my family more in the last 6 to 8 weeks than I have in a long time. And we just try to make the best of it, and, spend time with each other, make the best of a tough situation, and see the silver lining. But starting Monday, we go back up to Sacramento. So I'll be trekking it up there 4 days a week again.
Okay.
And that's the job I signed up for.
Well, I got a pitch for you. So decide to run for president. I'll be your vice president, the generic Barack Obama. I'm half Kenyan too. It could be the half-breed ticket. Cross all kinds of lines with the half-breed ticket.
That's incredible branding. Half breeds for America.
There we go.
I like it. It represents the diversity of our state, of our nation.
I'm right there. I might have to might have to bribe a few people not to tell stories about my past, but if we can wrap it up, what advice would you give any Seals players, parents, or even any soccer parents or soccer players? You know, so like if you were speaking to, the 15-year-old Rob.
Yeah, I mean, so talking to the player or the parent of the player.
Can you do both? Can you maybe to the player some advice you'd give a player and some advice you'd give a parent?
I mean, for most players, like I think if you're at a competitive level at 15, and someone told me this once, I didn't believe it, and I've come to be a believer. And they said that, except for like the crazy freak athletes, most everybody is within a range and a band of relative similarity in terms of their athletic ability. What's going to make you better is your mental toughness and your mental game. Meaning, your decisions, your speed of thought, which translates into your speed of play, and your hard work. And those are the things that are going to set you apart. Like, you look at a Messi, and he's not the fastest or the tallest for sure, or the strongest, but he's definitely, it might be the best. And it's for other reasons. So I'd say, you can control your inputs. You can't control your God-given talent, but you can control your inputs, the amount of work you put in, the repetitions you put in. So if you're serious about trying to go to college, you got to be training when no one's looking, and when the other guy is in bed or hanging out with their friends. It takes sacrifice, and you have to decide if you want to do that. I'd also say something that we never got to do, which has really changed my understanding of the game as, too late after my prime age for playing, is watch the game as much as you can. And players hate that. Like 15-year-old Rob hated watching games. I don't want to watch, I wanted to play. Yeah. But watching is, you watch it, and it's like it becomes emblazoned in your brain and translates into your muscle memory. And then, you see scenarios that you watch, and then you're in those same scenarios, and you do those things. Or at least you try, and they are the right decisions. We kind of made it up watching other American soccer players, maybe watching German soccer on Sundays, and World Cup time was when we'd watch those tapes a million different times.
Yeah, exactly.
A World Cup. So watch the game a lot, put in the hard work, and then always, for me, this was my plan. Like soccer was always it wasn't my primary plan. It was I always, I wanted to go to college to be a student for the college experience. I did want to be a scholar athlete. I wanted to go to the best college that I could and try to find the best combination of soccer. But I was recruited to play at, and could have played at other schools that were better at soccer. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to get the best combination of both. So if you want to go to college, pick a college that you want to go to. Imagine that you might get an injury, or you might, your soccer career might not turn out the way you want. You can't control who your coach is or what injury you might get. And Raina did that. Like, she was getting athletic scholarship offers from Pac-12 schools. She's like, Dad, I'm not going pro. I want to go to college. And I love Yale. I love the feel of it. If for some reason soccer wasn't a part of my life, I know I'd still be happy there. Some of the other places, I'd be there to play soccer. I'd be there, at the athlete's table in the athlete residential area. So that's me. That was my perspective. Others have a different perspective. That others, can and should go pro. Like, they're good enough. And we know a lot of people that have and did and had great careers. CJ Brown and others. But I think that hard work can set you apart. Think about watching soccer more, and that mental component. And get those repetitions, and kind of have a college career plan that's separate from soccer. Like, always think about that. But I'd say, my plan was to go with soccer as far as it takes me. And then I knew I could go back to school. I could drop out of school for a little while. And, I lived my dream with you guys those 2 summers, and what was it, 98 and 96, playing with the Seals and traveling around the country and going to Vancouver, New Orleans, and Nashville and Hershey, Pennsylvania. That was incredible. Yeah. And, you know, I wouldn't trade that for the world. I was supposedly studying for the bar at the time. All I had to do was carry my bar study books in my bag to 15 different cities, never opening them. And whenever it was time in the hotel, when the guys were like, hey, you want to go out and for a little bit or study? I had no discipline, so I'd always go out. And then, you know, what I would tell the parents too is, you know, provide, you know, it sounds corny, but first and foremost, just provide your love and support. Like if your kid knows they have that from you, then that's almost everything. And then try to, you know, expose them to things that are consistent with their abilities and that do a little bit more, meaning it pushes them a little bit, makes them stretch, makes them grow. Like I would always not want to be the best player on the team, like consciously, deliberately. I'd want to have better players around me because that's how I get better. Trying to defend against a better player, trying to mimic what another player did that I'd never seen before. If I was the best player, I wasn't going to grow. I might get confident, I might get happy, I might feed my ego with more goals and, you know, beating more people on the dribble or whatever it might be, but that's not how to get better. So like play with older folks. Mike McGinty and I played with the Sacramento Senators when they became a semi-pro team in Sacramento. We were kids in high school, but we got to train with them. They were bigger, they were faster, they one-touched all the time. The speed of play was way quicker. Like I was like, what is happening in my first training session? And it really helped me grow and get better. So, you know, stretch with better players, you know, you know, expose your player to those environments. And if you can do it, like, and that's what I did with Raina. Like she played with boys growing up, a lot on co-ed teams. And then she played with, you know, the Bay Oaks Club at the first age that she could. She was doing well there, and she was getting, you know, invited to like PDP and ODP, and I asked her if she wanted to try it, and, you know, she wanted to. And then the Deanza Force team came around. They used to be called the Rays, and they were the Griffins before that, and they came asking about her, and I asked her if that was something she wanted to do. And every time she wanted, you know, she wanted the challenge, she wanted the growth opportunity, she wanted to put herself in uncomfortable places. But you also have to be sensitive to the kid who says no, like, no, I don't want to do that, or I'm not ready for that. If you push them in and then it puts them in a tough spot, then, you know, you could break them. So it's a tough balance. You want to show that encouragement and support and help them be pushed and stretched, but you also, you have to listen and kind of see what they're trying to tell you, even if they don't say it clearly.
Yeah, that was good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Hopefully parents were listening. But, thank you again. You know, usually I was telling your communications director, Jerome, so, you know, I literally was thinking, you know what, it'd be cool to interview Rob. You know, I was watching Netflix or something and sent you a text and you responded yes, like right away. I was like, whoa, Rob usually responds like 3 days later.
Well, it involved a camera and I'm a politician, so the answer is always yes.
That was cool. I knew you were gonna get back to me. I just didn't realize you would get back so fast. But when you responded yes, I was pumped. I was like, cool, this will be cool.
No, thanks for asking, man. I'm pumped. Really happy to be here. Thanks for thinking of me.
Yeah, of course. I literally use you as an example a lot for parents, because I'll have some kids sometimes that are super driven that, you know, they want to play, and, you know, their parents will say, you can't maintain the type of GPA that you need to get into Cal or Stanford and be an athlete. Well, first of all, there's athletes that are there who, you know, got in on merit, and second of all, I know guys that were high functioning students and high functioning athletes. You know, they went to schools like Yale, Stanford, Cal. Mm-hmm. You can definitely do it, and, you know, I use an example. Use my brother as an example.
Yeah. No, it's true. I don't think it's an either or. You can definitely do both, and some people are kind of hardwired, like I was. Like I would do better at Yale academically during the soccer season than I would in the spring, like, because you just knew, like, every time you're not training or at your, you know, eating and fueling up or resting, you got to be doing your homework and your classwork and getting to class. In the spring, there's too much downtime and too much time for bad decisions and lack of discipline. So you can definitely do both. Like the dream of being a scholar athlete at a top school and a high level soccer program is definitely achievable. And there's some really good ones around. I mean, Stanford's incredible. Those guys are winning the national championship every year. And it's Stanford, one of the best universities in the world. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah,
they're right here in our backyard.
Yeah. It's when we were growing up, Stanford was terrible. Right? I mean,
yeah.
For soccer, of course, right? Soccer, they were like, what, Stanford?
I was impressed. They got real hot real quick.
Yeah.
And they kept it going. They were consistent for a while. Like, didn't they win like 3 in a row or 4 in a row or something?
Yeah, they won 3 in a row. Yeah. Gunn's he has a system that works and the kids are buying into it. Stanford must be taking care of him because I'm sure MLS teams have been knocking on his door.
Yeah.
He really has a system that works. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he'll get a pro offer or a contract someday if he wants it. But yeah, if they keep him happy at Stanford, they can keep him.
Yeah, I would much. I guess you have to have a certain mindset to want to do the pro. Working with kids and being able to mentor and mold kids. It's a different mindset than working with a grown professional who's got a family and check in and check out, clock the clock. But
it's more of a business profession. It's more contractual than like helping shape the character of young men and the path and course of their life. It is different type of fulfillment. Yeah,
I can see even like Grimes. I'm sure Grimes had a lot of offers at Cal, but he's stayed at Cal and he's done a fantastic job. I mean, Cal is the same as Cal and Stanford. They were not even in the picture as far as competitive college programs when we were growing up.
I know it's insane how much just a single coach can make a difference, especially if they get a little bit of leeway from their athletic director and get some resources. Give them a couple of scholarships, let them just give them the space to do it, and they can turn things around, change the culture, change the approach, start recruiting. They get a buzz, they start winning. Then the next set of recruits wants to come in. They can make a big difference.
Oh, yeah. Well, again, thanks, Rob. I've taken up more time than I said I was going to take up from you.
No, my pleasure, man. I could talk to you all night, Shawnee. Nice chatting with you.
Yeah, you too, bro. Tell me I said hello.
I will. Rest of the family.
Future First Lady of the United States.
Oh man, I'll be the first gentleman before that. She'll be the president. They literally in my hometown they call her the better Bonta. So, which is true, but it just hurts to hear it all the time.
Yeah, I get that too. I'm constantly learning from my wife.
I know, man. We're lucky. We married up.
Exactly.
Cool.
All right, bud.
All right, Shawnee. Thanks for having me. All right, Seals fam. Great to see you. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Rob.
Okay. Thanks, Shawnee. See you soon.